Hello, hello. Welcome to the Dulcimer Crossing Wednesday LiveStream. I'm Erin May Lewis, and I am with you today. Steve is in Oregon visiting his daughter and son-in-law and their sweet little baby. So I will be with you this week and next week. I'm just looking at I'm looking down because I'm making sure that the live stream is actually going. It is. Hurrah. Okay, very good. I am with you today. So I am keeping an eye on comments. If you got questions or things you want to talk about today or anything in mind that you'd like to talk about or work through next week as well. So, the topic today is picking up after a pause. And that is partially a pause around the holidays because a lot of us our routines are very different around Christmas time than they are the rest of the time. But also for me, our household all got the flu. And I was the last one down, so I'm the last one to recover. And today is actually one of the first days that I've really picked up my instrument since I got sick a week and a half ago. And for me, a week and a half pause is a very long pause. I know that for some of you, pauses for a whole multitude of reasons. Sometimes there are just pauses in our life where we don't get to pick up our instruments or do some of the things that we really do care about a lot. And so after that happens, sometimes it can be particularly difficult to know where to start again. It's like you can't just pick up where you left off because, for one, you maybe don't remember exactly where you left off. You also may find that you don't have all of the things under your fingers that you had under your fingers before the pause that was caused by whatever is going on. And so I was just thinking last night about what I wanted to share with you, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna pick up my dulcimer after a pause, and I'm going to sort of name out loud what I do and how it feels for me to play again after a pause of not feeling well and taking care of other important things like getting healthy again. So let me change my camera view. So there are two things that I did before y'all got here, before I went online. The first thing I did was cut my fingernails. After being sick for a week and a half, I realized that my fingernails were longer than I usually keep them. So I did that, and I tuned my dulcimer. It's actually not the very first time I've had the dulcimer in my lap. When I grabbed it off of the wall, I have my instruments hanging up around me in my office, and I grabbed it off the wall, and it was very, very, very far out of tune, which was my first clue that I hadn't played in too long, you know? The other thing I noticed when I just put my hands on my instrument for just a minute last night, I think I probably played for 2 minutes total in preparation for today, is that I have tenderness in my fingertips. And part of that is just my calluses aren't as strong because I haven't used them. But I also am a cancer survivor, and one of the chemo drugs that I had causes neuropathy. And I notice that when my immune system is fighting something off, I start to feel that little bit of neuropathy in my fingertips. So one other time this week, I played the piano for a little bit, and I just noticed that my fingertips were tingly while I was playing the piano. So I've got a little bit of that like uncomfortable sensation in my fingers as I press down on the strings. So that's going to impact like how hard I try to work on the instrument, which is one of the things that I definitely wanted to name, is not to overdo when you pick your dulcimer up again after a pause or whatever you're picking up. Our instinct can sometimes be, oh my gosh, I haven't played in so long. I need to sit down and practice for 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 hours. And it's going to be too much for your body after you've had some time away from it. So notice how your fingers are feeling and let them be your guide. You will build back up to being able to play for longer periods of time, but it doesn't have to be right now. So I've been just kind of noodling a little bit. Some kind of scale patterns, mostly melody string. I'm not trying to play a tune yet. I'm playing a couple of simple chords like D and G and A chords and a few different places on my instrument. I'm trying to get my fingers to work together again. So our hands tend to mostly be used for sort of grabbing, and our fingers all do things in unison together. And there isn't a whole lot. I mean, typing a little bit involves using one finger at a time. There's not a whole lot of things we do in our regular day-to-day life that requires each finger to do its own different thing. And so it will probably feel like your fingers are not very coordinated at first. So just playing through some of the chords that you knew how to play before, any of the chords that you can remember. If you just remember one shape of chords, you can move that one shape up and down a little bit. There are a few tunes that are sort of my go-to tunes. They're the ones that tend to just fall out of my dulcimer. And so what I'm going to do next is just see if one of those tunes will come out of my dulcimer. For me, St. Anne's Reel is one of those. I've played it for a long time, and I tend to just like it. So I'm going to play St. Anne's Reel slower than I usually would. And my strumming has to kind of get warmed up again too. So I'm just going to strum for a second. Kind of listen to the sound of your instrument again. Make sure you're strumming in the sweet spot. My pick direction went backwards from what I wish it would have done just there. I noticed that my pick was just going the wrong way. So I'm going to do it again. Played some wrong notes in a song I've known for 100 years. My fingers feel a little stiff. So that was mostly sort of using 3 fingers. I threw in some hammer-ons and pull-offs, those kinds of little embellishment things. I played it a lot slower than I usually do. I definitely played some wrong notes. I definitely didn't feel like, oh, that was a great performance, right? It wasn't meant to be that either, though. Just a way of getting my fingers moving and starting to warm up a little bit. So that could be the whole thing. Just play a couple of really familiar tunes. Go to your, like, the book that you learned out of first, play the most familiar songs out of it. That kind of thing. If you want to sort of keep moving and figure out, like, where am I? Where am I now? Start thinking about, well, what tunes or songs or techniques or things would I like to work on next? Not even necessarily was I working on before, but would I like to be playing next? And maybe grab a book that you haven't spent a lot of time playing out of. So you've got something new. I know for me, if every time I start over, I pick up after a pause, if I start back at what I have already played a lot of times, there's none of that, like, candy for my brain to go, ooh, chase that, right? But if there's something new that I'm looking forward to, then I'm going to want to play my dulcimer again tomorrow and the next day. So I do not necessarily start by trying to play all the things that I used to be able to play. I start with what is something new that is interesting to me right now today. So I have sitting here a pretty cool book by Steve Eulberg, The First 50 Songs on the Mountain Dulcimer, and I have only played a couple of these arrangements. So I'm just gonna flip through, and I flipped to Imagine. So I'm going to, in my mind, say, imagine if I play my dulcimer every day for the next 2 weeks, what I will be able to accomplish. Imagine what could be. This is an arrangement. Oh, it has a 1.5 fret, and this dulcimer doesn't have a 1.5 fret. So we'll just skip that little bit. That'll be all right. It looks like fingerpicking might work well for this arrangement. So I'm just gonna sight read it. And again, being very sort of gentle with myself. I'm not gonna play all the right notes. It's not gonna sound exactly like the song the first time through. I just want to hear and feel what it sounds like and remember what it feels like to, like, look at a piece of new music that I haven't played before. You tend to be more judgmental of yourself if you think that you should already be able to play something well. Whereas if you start something new, again, not only is it a little bit of that, like, brain candy that makes you want to do it again, but it also gives you lower expectations for yourself. Like, I probably won't be able to play this song perfectly. I've never tried to play it before. So you can be a little easier on yourself as you come back from a pause if you're not trying to do something that you already expect to be able to play and then discover that it didn't come out the way you hoped it would. All right, so I'm sight reading Imagine from Steve Eulberg's 51st Songs book. repeat sign. So there's definitely some places where if I decided I want to work on this song more, I need to count. Some of the rhythms didn't come out of my dulcimer really fluidly the first time that I read them. I was noticing it does a lot of the 310, 420 motion. So that's something that I would just practice kind of in isolation. I find myself sort of making up noodly little exercises a lot of the time. This has got my pinky working, so now I'm using another different finger, which is nice. So in this process, a lot of times I'll either sort of, you probably shouldn't dog ear your books, but I dog ear the page of a song that I want to come back to, I want to learn, or I stick a little sticky note in it. Sometimes I'll play 2 or 3 or 4 songs until I find the one that is most intriguing to me. And so, or maybe one that feels like it's the right level for me to work on next. And that helps me go, okay, that's the one that I want to spend more time and energy on. Sometimes I have to play several songs for a little while before I get to, oh, that's the one that I really want to work on next. Jamie Gilchrist is watching from the UK. Hi, Jamie. He says, I once played a wrong note on my dulcimer, and believe it or not, nobody died. It's true. All of us play wrong notes on our dulcimers. No one dies when that happens. Also, over Thanksgiving, I picked up this book off of my parents' bookcase called Fluid Pentatonics, which by the part where my name is on the inside of it, reminds me that I used this book in college, but I don't remember much of anything about this book. So I'm going to do an exercise out of here. Again, just sort of an attempt at doing a warm-up exercise. This is written for guitar, so like it requires some additional knowledge of music theory and things. So I'm going to look at the notation part of this, and there's going to be some things about it that don't translate perfectly to the dulcimer, but I'm going to do this one that is in A major because it is playable on the dulcimer. So it's just a little exercise written out. Woo! I ran out of frets. it forced me to move up and down my fretboard in a way that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. So sometimes just finding an exercise or something like that can be just, again, a tool to get your fingers moving on your instrument. All right, a little pentatonic scale study there. That's fun. Then, if you've stuck with it this long, your hands are starting to feel warmed up. You've maybe played some chord things. You've maybe played some scale things. You've played a song that's super, really, really familiar. You've played a song that's completely brand new, something that inspires you. Then the last thing that I would do is go back to something that you remember you were working on before. And so for me, that's a tune. The last thing that I was working on before I got sick was a tune called Morning Sun by David Grisman and Tony Rice from the Tone Poems album. One of my friends suggested it to me, and I started working on a transcription of the tune and figuring it out. And I got partway to the end, and then I got stuck. And do I need my chromatic dulcimer for this? I do, but not till the end. So I'm gonna play it on my diatonic dulcimer at the moment. So I'm just gonna sort of refresh my mind on something that I was working on before the pause. That was not right. Close. The second part gets hard, so I'm going to play the second part again. I need to work on my fingering there. That ending is a part that I got stuck on. I haven't figured out exactly what that ending is supposed to be yet. So, anyway, something I am super familiar with, some scales and patterns, just moving my fingers up and down the fretboard without a lot of a goal for what it sounds like. I'm just trying to move my hands, strum my instrument. Something brand new that excites me, that little thing that triggers the adrenaline in my brain to say, yes, I want more of that. And something that I'm going back to that I had been working on before. So those are some tools, some things I use, some things I do every time life creates a pause for me and I have to come back to my instrument again after a break for whatever reason. The other thing is to set yourself some new goals. Think about what you want to do. It is the end of the year, which is a time when we tend to sort of reimagine what our goals are going to be for the next year. So this might be a good time to get out pencil and paper and just write some things down. Make yourself a dulcimer practice notebook maybe, and in the front of the notebook, list the goals that you have for yourself. understanding that over the course of the year, they may change. You may start with some certain thing in mind, and then the year leads you into some different opportunities or ideas. But it is a good idea to write things down as you have the goals that you are imagining for yourself. I also want to just let you know about a few upcoming instructional events. If you have felt like you've maybe been on a longer pause than a week and a half, or if you just need some help and encouragement to pick up your instrument, or if you've been really consistently progressing and now you're feeling stuck at a plateau and you just need somebody to help you figure out what the next step on your journey is, these upcoming events may be helpful for you. So I'm going to name them, and then I will also put the links to each of these into the chat in a moment. On January 7th, that's a Saturday, Steve Yulberg and I are teaching a 2-hour master class on playing in DAD and DAA together. So we'll look at how to take DAD music and convert it to DAA and vice versa. So just the understanding of how these two tunings relate to each other. We will look at how to arrange music for one dulcimer playing in one tuning and the other dulcimer playing in the other tuning, and how you might use the different timbre of each of the tunings to actually create a really beautiful arrangement. So we would love for you to join us for that on January 7th. On January 13th through 15th is the Dulcie Moon Virtual Dulcimer Festival. I am participating in that as an instructor and homeroom hostess. DJ Hamoris has started this festival as a woman-led dulcimer festival, which just is really means that we're providing all of the instruction and the organization is from the perspective of women, but all people are invited to participate. And registration, early bird registration closes in just a few days. So definitely check out the Dulcimoon website. There's both an all-day price and some a la carte pricing for different things. So there's lots of different ways to participate and concerts. So and then coming up on January 19th, which is a Thursday, is our first Dulcimer Crossing live event of the year. And you get to learn from me. I will be talking about the chromatic mountain dulcimer and how that instrument can be used to play in a variety of different keys and what the value of that is. But I will also be including perspectives of how that applies to diatonic mountain dulcimers, and Steve Yulberg will be there to help translate toward hammer dulcimer information as well. So some good basic music theory stuff for any instrument and some specifics about the chromatic dulcimer. And then finally, Dulcimer Crossing is hosting a one-day event for 4 equidistant mountain dulcimer. The 4 equidistant dulcimer day is coming up in April. Registration opens today for that event. We've got, I think, 5 or 6 teachers who all regularly play 4 equidistant strings coming to talk about their approach and technique. It will start with sort of the basics of playing in DADD as a 4 equidistant tuning, and then there will be other tunings and some more interesting and intricate things that you can do with the 4-string setup as opposed to a 3-string or a double melody string setup. So I know that that's something I'm looking forward to because I don't know a lot about playing with 4 equidistant strings. So mark your calendars for that. Registration is open now. Again, I will drop all these links in the comments momentarily. Thanks, friends. It's been lovely to be with you today, and I will see you all next week as well.